Paf Yakush Mideva Bavas of Lord Sakas of Saxas in Mitolos here, Paka Loyal, make it your mom at the Lord Mikhail, she's right, but we see gosh. I've been next time, actually, I was trying to get on next time, inside the movement, I was going to go wrong, I got the Kimalacha Visavalak Shpacha Becha, the Rocha.
Toes, please. Good card. Watch your toes. Let's go put it in the lap to the blood roll. Make it straight. Everybody, please release. Please release the casket. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin the funeral service. Some chairs available for those that want to be seated. We ask for those that have a cell phone or pager, if you could turn it to silent mode. Officiating is Rabbi Dov Hillel Klein. It is you. I should gotta get that off there.
Whoever sits in the refuge of the Most High, he shall dwell in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of God, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, I will trust in Him. For He will deliver you from the ensnaring trap, from the devastating pestilence. With His pinion He will cover you, and beneath His wings you will be protected. Shield and armor is His truth. You shall not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that walks in gloom, nor the destroyer who lays waste at noon. Let 1,000 encamp at your side and a myriad at your right hand, but to you they shall not approach. You will merely peer with your eyes, and you will see the retribution of the wicked. Because you said, "You, God, are my refuge," you have made the Most High your dwelling place. No evil will befall you, nor will any plague come near your tent. For His angels He will charge for you to protect you in all your ways. On palms they will carry you, lest you strike your feet against the stone. Upon the lion and the viper you will tread, and you will trample the young and lion and the serpent. For He has yearned for me, and I will deliver him. I will elevate him because he knows my name. He will call upon me, and I will answer him. I am with him in distress. I will release him, and I will bring him honor. With long life will I satisfy him, and I will show him my salvation. We have gathered today to show our respects to the deceased Sandy Weller, Turiel Aaron Ben Avraham. His death is a woeful reminder of the frailty and sensitivity of human life, and of course for us to rechannel our thinking of what life is truly about. Sandy did understand the meaning of life, the preciousness of life. His life was so rich and meaningful. His life was full of good deeds, like a pomegranate is filled with seeds. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach b'atzatzu sho'im u'b'derech hata'im lo amad u'v'moshev leitzim lo yashav ki im b'soras Adonai chetzoi v'soras yegam yamam v'loyla v'haya ke'et shasula pagim mayim asher piryo yito bi'ito v'aleo lo yibo v'chol asher ya'aseh yatzliach lo chein ha'rishayim kim kamot asher titfenu ruach al kein lo yakumu yishayim b'mishpah v'chatoim ba'adat tzadikim. Fortunate is the man that has not walked in the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of scoffers. Rather, his desire is in the Torah of the Lord, and in his Torah he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by streams of water, that yields its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and all that he does shall prosper. Not so the wicked. Whether they are like the shaft that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not endure in judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord minds the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. I'd like to call upon the following individuals, one after the next, to come up and say a few words. I'd like to call upon Kaylin, then Nechama, then Kevin, and then Penina.
They say one of the reasons we eulogize our loved ones is to be inspired by the traits that made them unique and to remind ourselves of the lessons they leave behind. I wouldn't say I'm typically concise, but I do try to be efficient when I can, and I think both of those traits describe my dad as well. So in his honor, here are some pro tips, some how-tos, a few lessons I aspire to live by. 1. If you've lost something and have exhausted every place it could be, look where you think it should be. Sometimes, starting over with a refreshed perspective helps you realize it was there all along. 2. Similarly, and I was just reminded of this the other day while we played the New York Times Connections game, sometimes the most obvious answer is the right answer. 3. Being 15 minutes early means you're on time. Unless you're going to the airport, then it's 5 hours minimum. 4. We only have one planet. This might surprise some of you, but my dad was a big environmentalist. He deeply believed in doing his part to protect the earth. Saving water and recycling were of utmost importance to him. And just to throw in another fun fact, he was actually a pescatarian for over 20 years. 5. Raise your daughters as you would your sons. This one might be funny, considering that my dad only had daughters. My sisters Amy and Nechama and myself. But the message still stands. There was nothing he believed we couldn't achieve. He encouraged us to try for everything. He taught us how to use power tools, took us to boat shows, and never let us think we were capable of anything less than anyone else. And of course, number 6, the importance of a sweet treat. My dad never missed the opportunity to grab a Twix bar or a pack of Rolos on a grocery store run or at a stop at a gas station. But while he loved the small joys in life, like a sweet treat, he also embodied the importance of hard work, not just for himself, but in the service of others. Almost every year, he volunteered with Madchi Team Chicago, helping to provide food to low-income families in the Jewish community so they can celebrate the holidays with dignity and warmth. He always brought my sister and me along, teaching us the value of community and showing us that generosity is a way of life. His commitment to helping others extended far beyond that, too. He volunteered with the Evanston Hospital chaplain staff and the Chicago Mitzvah campaign, regularly visiting patients and delivering grape juice and challah for Shabbat. He was also deeply dedicated to Achnasat Orchim, the mitzvah of welcoming guests. For many years, he and my mother opened our home and our sukkah to the families of patients at Evanston Hospital, as well as to medical professionals. Our home became known as a sanctuary for those in need, a place where people could come, spend Shabbat or the holidays while their loved ones were receiving care. And although my dad liked to pretend he wasn't much of an animal person, his love for cats was undeniable, even if he tried to be discreet about it. He cared for our cats with great tenderness, taking them to the vet when giving them their medications and cleaning up their messes. He'd always sneak them a little extra attention and treats, too. His fondness for dogs may have been a bit more begrudging, but he took care of them with the same dedication, making sure they were loved and well cared for, even if he'd roll his eyes while doing it. His unwavering dedication to helping others has profoundly influenced my own journey. Today I work professionally, serving older adults, Holocaust survivors, and other vulnerable populations, deeply inspired by his lifelong commitment to supporting those who need it most. His work ethic wasn't just in volunteering, though. During my junior year of college, I took a particularly tough international law class. If I'm being honest, the cases, they really made no sense to me. Every week, he would read the cases with me, and then have a scheduled call on Sunday nights to go over them together. He was endlessly patient. And speaking of patience, he read all 7 Harry Potter books to me and my sister, chapter by chapter, every night for years. These are memories I'll treasure forever. I hope these little lessons and stories help encapsulate the man he was and the legacy he leaves behind. He was all the qualities highlighted and so much more. A man of integrity, generosity, kindness, and unwavering dedication to his family and community. His keen intelligence and insightful wisdom were evident in everything he did, from solving complex problems to guiding us with thoughtful advice. His impact will continue to resonate in all the lives he touched and in the values he instilled in us. Thank you, Abba. I love you. My father, Tsuriel, was a rock, indeed. He was the hand to hold. He was my teacher. He was my sounding board. He was my handyman for everything. There wasn't anything he wouldn't do for anyone, no questions asked. You needed, and he was there. And he was my friend. He was a great man, and that's for sure, but more than that, he was a good man. It is far too tall a task for me to enumerate all of his virtues here and now, and I hope that the Scottish poet Robert Burns is up to the task. An honest man here lies at rest, as ever God with his image blessed, the friend of man, the friend of truth, the friend of age and guide of youth. Few hearts like his with virtue warmed, few heads with knowledge so informed. If there's another world, he lives in bliss. If there is none, he made the best of this. My father always told me that I could be great, and I believe him. But to be as good as him, it will be very hard to live up to that. Thank you, Abba. I love you.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Sandy's younger brother. I'm Kevin. Turnbuckle. I'll come back to that. When I think of my older brother, I think of a story that was told around our house when I was growing up. Sandy was 3, and he had watched his father essentially build the house that they were living in. And Sandy grabbed a screwdriver, and he would walk around saying, "I fix it." And that story, I think, really talks to his competence. And that's what I would say that I always so admired about him. He was just a generally competent person. He was into computers in 1975 before any of us understood how they would become, our world. And I remember him trying to tell me how excited he was to be writing software code. And so his competence, he never ever bragged about it. He was an extremely modest guy. And he had a lot to be proud of. I'll bet a lot of you don't know that he was a standout high school wrestler. He went to the Kane Lind Invitational, and he had a record for the fastest pin, like 13 seconds. He took his guy down and pinned him. And now, Sandy, you know, the only few times I've ever heard him brag, geez, it felt like it was about me. I wanted to say that he wrestled at the weight of 132, and those of you who knew him, you know, later in life, you would understand that the last time he saw 132 was his very best day at the bowling alley. Well, so in closing, the word turnbuckle. He came out to Rockford, where I live, to visit, and I showed him this light strand on my rooftop deck, and it was sagging, and I just could not figure out a way to get it to be taut. And he looked at it and said, "You need a turnbuckle." And I had no clue. I went to the hardware store, and this was this old hardware store in Rockford where they had, you know, back rooms filled with stuff from, and the guy at the counter said, "Well, we don't sell very many of those, but I do have one. You must really know what you're doing." And so, Sandy, love you, gonna miss you.
Tomorrow is Sandy's and my 35th wedding anniversary. And since we've all enumerated all his amazing qualities, my story is a love story. An unlikely love story. And you've probably all heard this story a million times before, but I'm going to repeat it again. How did we meet? I got a new job, and they told me, "Sandy, who's your senior in this position, is going to show you the ropes." And Sandy turned around and took one look at me and turned his face. And I said to myself, well, I guess I don't need to get along with everybody here. And 2 weeks later, we had already become friends. He helped me move out of my apartment and into a new place. From that point on, we were great friends. And nobody believed that we weren't dating. But we weren't, for one simple reason. He wasn't my type. And I don't know what I ever thought was my type. But he was the best surprise I ever had in my life. And it was a wonderful life. And I asked him, thinking he would, and he, as Kayla said, he was a lot of things, but concise was not one of them. And in fact, he spoke with long pauses in between his sentences that drove me insane and started many arguments. But through it all, he was my number one fan, my constant supporter. He never said no to me in 35 years. So all I have today is a love song. And just to give you a bit of background, because Sandy was always prepared for everything, the night
night that Kayla was born. A month early. Thank you very much. A big surprise. Sandy still managed. We live across the street of the hospital. He ran home. He got a boom box, if you're old enough to remember what that is. And he brought over a CD. And these were the words to which These were the words to which Kayla was born. And recently I realized that this was the story of our life and our time together. I'd been searching a long time for someone exactly like you. I'd been traveling all around the world, waiting for you to come through. Someone like you to make it all worthwhile. Someone like you to keep me satisfied. Someone exactly like you. I'd been traveling a hard road, baby, looking for someone exactly like you. I've been carrying my heavy load, waiting for the light to come shining through. I'd been doing some soul searching to find out where you were at. I'd been up and down the highway in all kinds of foreign lands. For someone like you to make it all worthwhile. Someone like you to keep me satisfied. Someone exactly like you. I'd been all around the world, marching to the beat of a different drum, but just lately realized, baby, the best had yet to come. Someone like you made it all worthwhile. Someone like you kept me satisfied. Someone exactly like you. The best had yet to come. Oh, the best had yet to come. Someone like you. Someone exactly like you. I love you, honey.
We're told in Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers, Rabbi Shimon said there are three crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, the crown of kingship. But the crown of a good name surpasses them all. Sandy was the master of that good name. Sandy passed away this past Shabbos around 4:30 in the morning. Over the last several weeks and days, we have had the opportunity to say goodbye. But I have to be honest, I was not expecting it to be so soon. I believe that it would only be befitting to reflect on Sandy's life and the impact that it has left on us. Over my life, I've come to know many people. Evanston is a transient community. People come and people go. Not Sandy. He's been involved with Chabad of Evanston and Northwestern for around 30 years now. For me, personally, getting to know Sandy was a real honor. My life has been changed for good because of his impact on me. Therefore, it's extremely difficult to talk for a few minutes about Sandy, not because I don't have enough to say, but I'm worried that the time doesn't permit me to say enough about one of the finest human beings we have all come to know. Birth is involuntary. Death is inevitable. Our Chazal, our sages, tell us how one fares between these 2 points is the test of life. It is without a doubt Sandy passed the test in flying colors. Sandy was born 73 years ago to Stanley and Catherine Weller and grew up in Champaign, Illinois. Perhaps that's how come he gets along so well with a good friend of his, Joel Shear, who's a diehard University of Illinois fan who loved Central Illinois, even though he's living now in Ottawa. Sandy became an IT expert and a whiz, and that is how he met his wife, Penina. As you already heard, that tomorrow will be their 35th wedding anniversary. Wow. Before they got engaged, they worked at the same company, and Sandy was not only smart and creative, he was funny. So funny that Penina was banging her head against the wall with laughter. She was knocked so silly that they decided to get married. And what a marriage has been. Loyal, always together, loving, caring to the very last moments. And even though at the end, when Sandy was so frustrated because of his situation, and within screams, you can still feel Sandy's boundless love. How can I explain who Sandy was? Perhaps we can look at his Hebrew name, Tzuriel Aharon. Tzuriel comes from the word Tzur, which means rock. He was the rock of his family. Sandy was a strong person, steady with strength. He was the one that you could count on. When he made a commitment to something, you didn't need to ask a second time. It was done. He was dependable, consistent, reliable. Sandy loved to study Torah, Chumash, Mishnayos, Halacha, Jewish law. He wanted to integrate his knowledge into his life. And he always did that, no matter what he was learning. And therefore, he always made sure he attended the classes as much as possible. And let me tell you, my friends, there's a dispute among some of our sages. Won't be the first dispute. But we learned that each year the Jewish people needed to give a half a shekel to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle in the desert. What was the money used for? Some of our commentaries say that it was used for the daily offerings. Each member of the Jewish people had a financial share in the sacrifices. But I found out that others say that it went for the Adanim, for the sockets, which was the foundation of the Mishkan. The foundation in which the beams of the Mishkan were put into. See, in order to have a temple, in order to have a home for God, one cannot have a weak foundation. It needs to be strong. You need to build this home of God on something that can contain it and hold it. These were the sockets that were in the temple, that everything else was built upon. Therefore, each of us have to realize that we need to invest our half shekel in this foundation. It's not surprising to me that one of the leaders of the Jewish community leaving Egypt, who was responsible to carry these sockets and to place them where they needed to be, was Tzuriel, Sandy's namesake. See, my friend, Sandy understood to be a real Tzuriel, to be a real rock of God, is by having a strong foundation. That is how he lived his life. That is how he built his home. I remember our shul daddy, Eli Wolf, saying to me that Sandy's two daughters, Kayla and Nechama, are going to grow up into becoming two amazing women, young women, which they did. Eli said, you could see how Sandy brings them to shul, davens with them, learns with them. He instilled the foundation of Jewish values, ethics, morals, and the ideals of Torah into them with these sockets, with the Adanim, the foundation. And once you have that, you know they're going to be wonderful, and they're going to do wonderful things. And I can guarantee you how proud you've made your father, and me, you as well. How proud he is of his kids. Sandy was a true Tzuriel. He built the foundations wherever he went and whatever he did, as we already heard. But a foundation has to be predicated on love, not fear. Sandy had boundless levels of love. He was joyful, silly at times, knew how to make a joke and cheer someone up. That was Aaron, Sandy's second name. Put them together, Tzuriel, Aaron, you have the dynamic duo that can impact people around him. He was a rock but not rigid, not cold. It was infused with the traits of Aaron, warmth, love, caring, with loads of empathy and compassion. That is who Sandy was. Each one of us have been changed for the better because Sandy was in our lives. Sandy also was a peacekeeper, able to see multiple sides of a story. Our sages say, who is a person worthy of being honored? One who honors others. Who is a person worthy of respect? One who respects others. Who is a person worthy of love? One who loves others. This, my friends, is Sandy Weller. Perhaps for me, the word that best describes Sandy is a word that has no English translation or equivalent. Excuse me. Sandy was a real mensch, a gentleman, a fine person, a person who was kind to others, a real human being, a mensch. I was lucky because over the past several months, I was able to visit with Sandy. I drove him to the hospital in the western suburbs, had quality time with Sandy. A couple of months ago, Sandy became wheelchair bound. He said to me that he was very scared and afraid that he would never be able to walk on his own again. Sandy walked miles to get to Shul. Whether it was to our Chabad house or Young Israel in Skokie, he walked. Sandy was afraid he would not be able to go to Shul again and walk again. How important was it for him to go to Shul, to daven, to help the community? For years, Sandy was our Gabbai Sheni at Chabad house. He wanted things to run smoothly. I remember on Rosh Hashanah, he would make a stender for himself, a podium like this, one that always tipped over. It wasn't in order to show his importance. I'm someone important in the synagogue. It was there to enable him to concentrate better. This Friday afternoon, I was in the house. I was together with Sandy. And even though Sandy seems very sleepy and out of it, I said Shema Yisrael with him. This was his passion, to say Shema. And in its proper time, that was huge for Sandy. I think of Sandy as the Shema Yisrael Jew. Belief in God, proud of his heritage, proud of his Jewish identity, loving his daughters, and a special deep love for his wife Penina. Sandy understood the preciousness of each and day and every single moment. He would take full advantage of it and would make up what he couldn't do the first time. He was not lazy, always active. Most of all, he was not superficial. Sandy was very deep. That is why Sandy loved learning Torah. It helps one see the depth of the world that we all live in. Sandy was a man whose friendship we cherished. Sandy was a man who inspired and taught us. Sandy was a man who loved us and gave to us all. Sandy is a man whose legacy will live on for years to come. As we prepare for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we blow the shofar each day. It's a wake-up call to examine our behavior over the past year and become accountable for our actions. Let Sandy be our shofar to help us be that loving rock to make our community, our families, our lives that much better. It's a story in the Bible that speaks about the passing of Jacob. And it doesn't use the word death, but expired. Our sages asked a simple question. Why does it use the word expired? And then the Talmud tells us because Yaakov lo mate, Yaakov did not die. How can we say he didn't die? He's buried in Israel. He's buried in Hebron. I was just at his gravesite a couple of months ago. Obviously he died. The answer which is offered is since Yaakov's children and grandchildren for generations to come followed in the ways of Yaakov, therefore he never died. Yaakov continues to live on in his descendants. We realize that physically Sandy, you're no longer with us, but spiritually you are, and you will continue to watch over every one of us. You will come and celebrate with us at our happy occasions, and you will continue to pray on our behalf. But most of all, Sandy, we will continue to live on in us. His teachings, his values, his ethics. We will carry them on. And therefore, Sandy's purpose in life will continue. It will continue through us. A question we should ask ourselves: have we fulfilled our mission in this world? As we looked over Sandy's life, I think we can unanimously say, yes, Sandy has fulfilled his mission. And there's a very, very special place in heaven for him. Sandy, if we harmed you or hurt you in any shape, form, or fashion at this time, we ask your forgiveness. One of the 13 principles of faith is that we believe in the coming of the Mashiach, that he should come speedily in our days. That's number 12. Number 13 is that we believe in perfect faith in the resurrection of the dead. We pray that Mashiach should come and that we can be together with all of our loved ones, and that Sandy will rise and be together with us forever and ever. And let us all say, Amen. At this time, we're going to lower the casket. And it's a Jewish practice, as part of closure, that we shovel, we take part, as part of the Jewish community, we take part of the actual burial. And therefore we put at least 3 scoops of dirt, for those of you who want, on top of the grave itself. We don't pass the shovel, though, from person to person, because we're not passing our thoughts, our feelings in death and impurity from one person to the next. So we put it back, the shovel, into the mound of dirt or onto the ground, and the next person picks it up. For those of you who would like to join us for that, you're more than welcome to start coming forward. First, the immediate family, for those who want to do it. We're going to wait a moment until they lower the hearse. Not the hearse, the casket.
As the rabbi mentioned, for those who want to participate in the burial, you may do so from either side of the mound. There's big shovels for those who want to shovel the earth. There's also little buckets if you want to shovel the lighter sand.
Yeah, because my relative
Just loves being a coin. Ladies and gentlemen, if we could all gather back in under the canopy, if we could have the immediate family come forward here.
As they're finishing up, I'm going to say the Tzaddik Hadin. Atur Tamim Polo Ki Kol K'Derachah Mishparet El Emunah Ve'ein Avel Tzaddik V'Yashahu. Atur Tamim B'Chol Poal Mi Yomar Lo Mati Pol Ashlip B'Mata B'Mal M'Mesim L'Chaya U'Mari Sha'ol V'Yal Atur Tamim B'Chol Maaseh Mi Yomar Lov Matase Omer V'Ose Chesed Chinam Lanu Ta'aseh V'Schus Hanekar Kesek Kshiva V'Aseh Tzaddik B'Chol Derachah Atur Tamim Erech Apayim Amali Rachamim Chamol no v'chusa no alav osevanim kilocha adon aslichos v'arachamim tzadik ataronai lohamis achiyos ashabiyotcha b'chdoim kol ruchos chalila lechos rechvanim limchos v'yu no necha v'rachamim alina b'chuchos kilocha adon harachamim aslichos adamim ben shana yiyah or elef shanim yichya ma yisron lo kilohaya yiyah barak dain emes mimesim echaya baruch hu ki emes dina Mishote Hakol Be'einav Mashalim Ladam Cheshboneh V'Dina Hakol Yishmo Hodoya Yitenu Yadanu Ki Adonai Tzedek Mishpatecha Tzitztak B'Dvarecha V'Tzizge Mishpatecha Ve'en Lahar Achar Midas Shavtecha Tzaddik Ator Adonai V'Yoshem Mishpatecha Dain HaEmes Shofet Tzedek V'Emes Baruch Dain HaEmes Shekol Mishpatav Tzedek V'Emes Nefesh Kol Chai B'Yadecha Tzedek Malal Yamincha V'Yadenu V'yadecha v'rachem al pleitas tzayin yadecha v'somer l'malach heri v'yadecha gadol ha'etza v'rava lilia she'enecha b'kuchos ha'kol darchi b'nei adam l'aseh l'ishka d'racha k'fri mi'alav l'haki k'yashar Adonai tzuri v'avlasa b'y Adonai nasan v'Adonai lokach yishem Adonai mevarak v'hurachum l'chaper v'on v'leyashchiv v'repir v'leyashiva po v'leyir kacham asay. You are open upon all the ways of the children of man to give man according to his ways and according to the fruits of his deeds, to declare that God is just, my rock, in whom there is no wrong. God gave it, and God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. He, the merciful one, is forgiving of iniquity and does not destroy, frequently withdrawing his anger, not arousing his entire rage. This time I'm going to say the memorial prayer. Please rise for the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim Shochem B'Amroimim Hamsei Menucha Nachon Etachas Kanfei HaShechina B'Malus Kedoshim Toer Min Kozor Elokim Asirim Es Nishmat Surya Aaron Ben Avraham Sha'alach Leilam Abavar Shan Mishpachtei Uvechaveir Another Stock of Askaros and Nishmasai Began Eden Te Menuchasai Lachim Bala Rachim Yasti Reho Bises Karnaf Leilamim Vitor Bitor Chaim Es Nishmasai Adonai Hu Nachalasai V'Yanu V'Shalom Al Mishkavai V'Namar Amen. O God, full of compassion, Thou who dwells on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of your presence among the holy and the pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Sandy Weller, Tzuriel Aaron ben Abraham, who has gone on to eternity, and whose memory charity is offered by his family and friends. May his rest be in paradise. May the Lord of mercy bring him under the cover of his ring, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May the Lord be his possession, and may his rest be peaceful. And let us all say, Amen. Mizmor LeDavid Adonai Roi Eloi Echzor Binos Desha Yarbiteni Amei Menuchas Ina Aleni Nafshi Yeshovi Anchein Memagnet Segleman Shemo Gam Kele Begates Amavis Lo Ira Raki Atai Imadi Shiv Techomishantech Imenachamuni Tarag Lafana Shochan Negatzorah Dishant Vishem Roshi Kosu Vivaya Ach Lefeches Firning Koyimei Chaya Shat Veis Adonai Leorech Yamim. In your pamphlets, we have it in English, the Psalm, the 23rd Psalm. If you'd like to say it together with me, you're more than welcome to do so. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of the righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Kaddish. At this time, those of you who are going to say Kaddish, we say the mourner's Kaddish, which is on the back in both Aramaic, really, and in transliteration. Who's saying the Kaddish? Okay, I'll say it. Hold on one second. He's saying it throughout the year. Yeah, come. Benjamin? What? Benjamin Babbitt, is he here? I don't see him. This one. Together. Everyone together. Amen. Amen. Yehesh mei rabam barach olamo meomaya. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the funeral service here at the cemetery. The family will be going back to the residence where they'll be sitting Shiva. Those times are on the service folder that you received when you arrived there, on the website that you joined on the Zoom. Kayla will be sitting Shiva in her apartment beginning Thursday, and again, those times are on the service folder that you received when you arrived and on the Zoom, on the website that you joined us in the Zoom. If we can form an aisle where Ashura, leading away from the grave for the immediate mourners, will walk through, and we will offer them the traditional words of condolences as they walk through.